that what you said about like being in the war zone, like I remember that's what it would feel like because of high school traumas, maybe, you know, it wasn't anything insane, but it was all the stuff that had built up. And yeah, that's, I remember as I was getting more into understanding psychology and starting to, you know, go within, was at some point realizing like, oh my gosh, yeah, like my mind is in the space where it's looking for danger constantly. You know,
Yeah.
like I would be sitting somewhere and I would hear somebody coming, and the first thoughts that would run through my mind is like, how do I make sure that they don't like harm me, or how do I, you know, make sure that I don't embarrass myself, or you know, it's so
Yeah.
that's like you said, it was just constantly like scanning
Yep.
my environment to not upset somebody or not, you know, do something like that, which was, yeah, which was a big deal at that time.
Well, it's a
But
huge deal. And that's PTSD. And
yeah,
and
yeah,
the
exactly.
reality is, from my understanding, is over 90% of the population has it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I would
yeah,
completely agree with that, because I mean, I just look like your very average human being in the sense that, you know, I was going to university, I was socializing, I
yeah.
was in a relationship, I was playing sports. I looked like great, guys. And then yeah, I like you said, I realized that in myself as well. It's like, yeah, it's this it's PTSD really,
But
but
the problem is that society won't honor that you're going
mm,
through something because it looks perfect on the outside, right? So,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've also worked with a lot of veterans who come back and they're going through massive challenges. And so I'm not downplaying. I just want everybody to know who's listening. Like, I'm not downplaying war zones by any means. I've seen
Mm,
that. I've worked in that realm as well as this. And I want, you know, Kyle, I want you to understand, and I also want our listeners to understand that PTSD is the result of a human experiencing anything that goes against the natural state of being.
mm,
Period.
mm.
Period. And so, you know, you knew that what you were doing and what you were experiencing was going against your natural state of being. And yet it looked
Yeah.
perfect on the outside to
Right, right.
everybody else, to what
Yeah.
we've been taught is perfect. So
Yeah.
keep going,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what something that's that I really like that you said there was, yeah, me knowing that I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing. Like I felt that in the conversations I was having with people in the, like again, going back to the relationship I was in at the time, the people that we would hang out with, I was feeling I had to hide, you know, myself so that
Yes.
I could fit in with the crowd. And that's exactly it. That was the PTSD, was the kind of feeling of, and it was suffocating. It was like there was something in me that was just like, yeah, screaming all the time, this isn't me, this isn't me, this isn't me.
Yeah.
And but so then this was, I think, what I wanted to come back to earlier was, as everything was falling apart on the relative level, uh I remember saying to my girlfriend, I was getting into, like, my intellectual self was really serving me there, because I was getting into podcasts, and my interest, like you said, my interest was finally shifting into well-being, whereas in the past it had always been invested in success, right? Because again, it's
Yes.
like, what is the programming that we have, right? I remember at some point when I was growing up, it's so funny reflecting back on these kinds of things now, but I remember at some point when I was growing up, the belief came into my system that I need to be successful. Like I was like looking around at the world, and I was like, what is this all about? You know, what is this whole thing about? And then I just remember at some point started reading about success. I was like, okay, I went on the internet, I was like, books about success. I just became consumed by, I need to become successful because that's just like,
Yes.
yeah, that's just what's coming in, I guess, you know.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's so funny though. Like you forget that. Like I forget that at a time, and then after all the awakening stuff started happening, you know, all these things start to come back from the, like, the, I guess, the different formations of identity and all that. And it was like, oh yeah, I remember at some point this quest for success started. Um,
And
yeah,
we
so
have
that,
those memories, right, for a reason when they come up,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's in itself synchronicity, right?
yeah,
It's understand, like, how even how today you mentioned a couple times, you're like, oh, I just had this thought and this memory about this. And it's
yeah,
that's the sign of someone who's following energy,
right,
who's
right,
not preparing everything in their mind to present themselves and to perform. It's the
Yeah.
sign of an authentic human, which
Yeah.
is someone who trusts that they will know what they need to know when they need to know it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
most people
Yeah.
don't do that because we've been
Yeah.
taught, we went through education systems that made darn sure we didn't do that. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why we lost
Exactly.
touch with feeling. It's
Yeah.
100%. It's amazing. Yes, this is
Yeah.
great. I am loving your story and I am loving the conversation through it. Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. No, this is amazing for me too. Yeah. It's